myself, I've just grown to be like the badass of the community, and I don't honestly care what people think about me. I'm just like, cool.
What is hobby horsing?
So, hobby horsing is a sport which includes hobby horses, which are like these plush horses on a stick. Usually they're homemade, completely hand sewn hobby horse like plushies, which we connect to a stick. And then we ride them. And it might include jumping or dressage or Western. And it has many sides to it, but as short as I can say it, it's a sport that involves us riding a hobby horse.
Where did it kind of come from?
It originated in Finland and nobody knows how it was like invented actually.
How did you get into it? What brought you to it?
It's a funny story. I've been riding real horses since I was 6 years old or 7 years old. I started riding like every week, but horses have been with me for my whole entire life, like real horses. And we had this camp each summer until I was 14. And the last day we were having the camp, we had this little competition with the horses. We had to do a course that involved jumping and going over and under things and like different tasks that we had to do. And I decided that maybe I should try that in real life because like I don't have my own horse. I couldn't ride the course with a real horse. So somehow I took my mother's old sock, filled it up with newspaper, put on some ears and nostrils and like stick attached to it, and then rode the course that I was supposed to remember on my backyard. And then a few moments back, like when I remembered the course, I was like, hey, this is actually kind of fun. And then a few weeks like went by and I was still doing that. And then I was like, okay, this is my thing now. This is really good. And then I realized that there's actually a community. There's people who are doing this as well. And it just started. It was 2014 when I started my hobby horse journey.
It seems a little different. It seems a little different, right? Like, I guess the question that I think would be like, okay, well, why? You know, because when I see it, I'm like, okay, well, why not just ride a real horse? Why not just do something else? Like, why do people why are they drawn to this?
People usually ask that, why don't you ride a real horse? But it's a fact that over 99% of hobby horses ride real horses too. But it's a completely different thing. It involves different muscles. It isn't like replacing real horses, if you know what I mean. People call us, sometimes they call us poor, or you cannot afford a real horse if you're hobby horsing, but it's people don't understand that it's a completely different thing than riding real horses, and it's not a replacement for them. It's just a completely different hobby that we enjoy doing.
My personal thing is do whatever you want. If it makes it happy, leave people alone. Do whatever you want. Does it bother
Exactly.
people? Does it bother people in the community that other people might be kind of like, oh my gosh, what are these people doing?
I mean, especially when it comes to younger people, they are somehow intimidated by that, and they might even quit because of the hate. But myself, I've just grown to be like the badass of the community, and I don't honestly care what people think about me. I'm just like, cool. If you're replaying my content and if you're hating and commenting on my posts and hating there, they're just giving me money. Like I always answer to the hate comments like, thank you for the lunch money. Because of you, I can now order my favorite foods. And I don't really care, but sadly, it does affect many people in the community that people are so like hostile towards us. So yeah, it does. Like, I think that the community has grown in the sense of like not giving any Fs whatsoever, but before it was even like worse.
I could see that, right? Like it's hard to do something until it becomes cool slash popular, right?
Yes.
Do you think that the sport can get past that?
I definitely think so. Yeah, like it's now like now that it's become more like popular in social media, in TV and newspapers, and like overall in real life. And the amount of hobby horse people has been growing, especially this year. It's been like I've seen so many new hobbies entering to the scene. But now that I think that it's in the like place that it is becoming cool because of, especially in Finland, the people are understanding what is it about, because I've been talking to them so long and so heartfelt.
So the hobby horses themselves, are these kind of things that people just throw together? Like, no, 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 these are taken care of. These are people's babies.
These are like homemade. Many people produce them at their own home, and it involves a lot of work. I myself, I'm an entrepreneur in hobby horse making and making camps. So it takes 22 hours to complete a horse, so it's not definitely that you just throw together. It's a sports equipment and it needs much care. Like when you go outside and it's a little bit of like rain going down, usually like we put on some blankets so it doesn't get wet. And then when it gets wet and it's like a little bit dirty, we brush them off and we don't just think it's a real horse. Like, you know, those football players and hockey players have their precious like ice skates or their lucky shirts. It's almost the same thing. Like you cannot play football without a ball. So it's the same thing that you cannot do hobby horsing without a hobby horse.
So then you look at the competitions, like how is the competition judged? Like what are the criteria kind of?
There's many parts to hobby horsing, jumping, dressage, and western, and then there's like shows for hobby horses. Which one is the most like it has the cleanest sewing like marks, and which one is the most carefully made, basically. But in dressage, which I specialize in, they usually think that like when the movement is like ergonomical and it's not hurting you, but it needs to be elegant, high, like it has to look like there's some work involved and it has to look like a real horse movement. And usually it's like it looks light, it's supple, it's ergonomical for your body so it doesn't hurt. It looks easy. Like in the dressage scene, usually the goal is to make it look as easy as possible because then you are doing it like correctly. And then people can hate on us like, oh, that looks so easy, but it isn't. It requires so much work. But in jumping, there are two specific things you can judge. There's time, which is like who goes over the most jumps, like the most, there are like 12 jumps in one course. Who goes over them the most quickly without like falling down? Or the obstacles not falling down. And then there's style, which is like which looks the most efficient and the most like supple and easy for your body to do, but you still get over everything. And in Western, I don't really know much about that scene, but it's usually like it looks relaxed, it looks easy, and then how you do the movements, it it just needs to be looking as easy as possible. That's the like main point in every part of like hobby horse working out and training and riding.
How competitive is it? Is it super kind of a competitive thing, or is it more like we're having a competition, but this is more like kind of getting everybody together?
So it can be both for many people. I myself, I'm a really competitive person. And when I go to a competition, I have a specific goal that I need to make, and usually that is to win. And I'm a 300-time winner in dressage, which is a lot of trophies. And I also have the world's first American championship in dressage. But there are people who are just like, because there are a lot of different things just in a competition. There are sales tables, food, people, friends you haven't seen in years, free riding, other people doing amazing like turns when they're competing. So it's a little bit of both. It depends on the person, but overall it's pretty competitive and people are training for hours and hours and hours for one competition.
Can you make money off of it? Like, if you win the competition, can you make some money?
Um, Not usually like from the competitions, but there are many competitions who have gift cards for presents or the like prizes. And of course, like if you are doing good, You get like offers and deals and sponsorships.
Can you see your Instagram page?
Yeah.
So, what are we watching here? Like, what's kind of going on?
So this video is me on my weekly training session. I do a few of these a week. Besides going to the gym and walking and running and swimming, I work out every day. Here you see a few of the movements that we have in dressage. This is like medium trot I'm doing right now. And in the beginning there was passage and piaffe, which are the higher level movements. So this is just me training normally in the my weekly trainings. These usually look almost the same when I'm riding a hobby horse. I hobby horse train 4 to 3 times a week, and then I go to the gym every day. Besides Sunday, that's my rest day.
I mean, does look physically hard. Like anybody who's ever done that, like, oh, that's kind of tiring.
It requires very much muscle. The first year that I started hobby horsing, like for real, it was 2020. I gained 15 kilos, which is a lot of pounds in muscle, and it really shows how much it truly takes. Yeah, it's a full body workout.
What now? What this is a competition here, right?
Yes, this is actually from the US for the first ever US championships, and this was my closing like movements. And the crowd was shouting and screaming. They were so hyped. And yeah, this is like one part of my legendary like courses or my routines. Everyone knows those in Finland. Everyone knows that, oh, now she's gonna do that. And everyone's just like, they have this tension because it's kind of like a strong choice to be doing that. And the music is kind of like aggressive and intensive as well. So it forms out pretty good. And everyone knows that. And it's almost like an iconic move, because people know that I'll be doing that every single time, and it's kind of my signature move when it comes to freestyles.
And what's the signature move is which part of it? I'm not so.
It's this one where I start to go diagonal, like across, crisscross from the court. And then yeah, it's almost like when I'm walking, the tension is growing, and when I turn to left and start to trot, like that's the move everyone knows me off. Like they know that I'll be doing that every time, and they still enjoy it every time. Like it just fits there.
Is there any in here that are of the jumping aspect of it?
It's a old video of me jumping. I was a little kid. So this is me jumping like 90 centimeters. I don't know how much that is in feet, like maybe 4 or 2.
90 centimeters. So that's about 3 feet. It's about 3 feet, I think.
Oh,
Call it
okay,
that.
yeah. So that's a double, which is 75 and then 90. Yeah.
Oh, there is two of them. I thought at first, like just because of the angle of the camera, I couldn't see if they were next to each other or one in front of the other. So how? Okay, so if you're doing a 90, like how high will people get up?
Right now, the like biggest jump that anyone has taken in the SM, which is the Finnish championships, is 142 centimeters, I think.
Let's call that about 4.5 feet. That's pretty. That's a legit jump.
Oh yeah, and it's like when you know that Olympics on the real horses, they jump like 120, 130 centimeters, and then in the SM we jump 140 many times in the high jump.
So
So
does the
and
whole?
people still don't think that it's a sport. Like that amazes me.
Yeah, does the horse make it like more difficult or not really?
Oh yeah, it makes everything difficult. My biggest horse, which I have, which is also my main horse, which has been with me for 4 years, he weighs 7.5 pounds. And jumping with him, like the over 3 feet obstacles, it's hard.
I'm gonna ask this question kind of directly. Do you
Yep,
ever like? Do people ever feel kind of ridiculous doing it?
not really. Like when we're hobby horses, like hobby horse people don't feel that, but if people who aren't doing the hobby, they try it, they feel really embarrassed, but after a while, they're kind of warming up to that. Like I've done loads of collabs with YouTubers and TV producers and actresses. First they were kind of like, I don't really want to do that, but then they are doing it, and then they're like, oh, this is fun. Actually, this is fun. And the hobby horse people, like, we're not ashamed. We do not feel like embarrassed or like like uncomfortable. It's like such a normal thing for us, and yeah, we do not like it's normal for us.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is what I like. Leave me alone and let me do the thing that I like.
Yeah.
Are you ready for some harder slash listener submitted questions?
Yeah. Shoot him my way.
Country that seems to adopt this the most. Like, what country is really into it?
Finland. Finland.
What? How come Finland? Like, what is it? Why does Finland seem to just love it?
Oh, Finland has a lot of different like very weird things. Toting your wife competitions, heavy metal knitting, throwing the boot competitions, and hobby horsing is like the least weird thing. And it started in Finland, so I think that people are very proud of it as well. So it has been a big thing here, and it still is. But other than Finland, I think that the hobby has been growing in Poland and in the US.
Do you name the horses?
Yeah, we almost every time we do. I have a name for all of the horses I own, and usually I like to name my sale horses, which like when people have kind of an emotion, like tie with the horse they're about to buy, and the name is good, they're more prone to buy it from you. And it kind of creates a personal aspect to that when you're naming the horses. So yeah, yeah, we name the horses like most of the time.
Can you share the name? Or is it like, no, you don't tell people the name of the horse?
Yeah, actually the horse that I have here, which is my star of the show, I have a tattoo of him. His name is Mingy, which is ROS Always Song, his full name, and his stable name, which is the name that everyone calls him, like for short, is Mingy. And then I have Ru, Dayu, Tae, and then I had Yona, but Yona is from like I sold him a while back. Yeah, it's like, and for the sale horses, I love to pick out names for them. I have different like breeds that have the same like heritage. They have different like moms and dads, and they're kind of like in concept. Like some horses have their names off of like the universe and the space, and other have their names on birds and metals, like Copperhawk, Silverbird, uh, Platinum Wagtail, and everything. So yeah, we kind of spent time on the names, and we like to name them.
Like, how much do you sell a horse for?
So my prices are from 50 to 500 euros slash dollars, and every horse gets sold. It's like I'm an entrepreneur. I do this myself. I have my workforce is me, and I'm making about $15,000 per year off of hobby horses alone. And then there are the camps, which are a completely different aspect. There are thousands of euros in that as well. Sponsorships, flight tickets, like yeah, you can really profit off of hobby horses.
Where do you think it goes from here?
In the future, I think that there has been talks about hobby horsing getting into the Olympics, but however, that's a far, far away the conversation even about that. So if we were to organize Olympics, every country has to have their own association, which has regional championships and like the national championships. We had to do anti-doping tests for everyone. It's a process. It will happen, for sure, but it will take tens of years, like 10 or 15 years before we can even consider that. For me, it's now that I'm working with many TV producers, many movie producers, actresses, companies, big companies, and I'm filming this documentary with this iconic, legendary American like person, and like there are so many things that we need to do, but I think that the most important part is now to just talk and get rid of the hate and kind of normalize it. So just being ourselves, keeping doing what we love, keep doing what makes us happy, and well, we will win. We will win the hate war. But it takes a lot. So that's the next mission we have.